Welcome to Higher Frequencies.
Where do you go every time you leave? Why do you always gotta go somewhere away from me? I keep wondering if someday you'll just keep holding on. And like a fool, I just keep waiting till the early comes.
If you could find your way back home again, I hope you can find your way into my arms again.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. Here we are on episode 5. And yeah, still in my apartment now where we left off. I was just, working away, new therapies, new modalities. We had done the somatic stuff. And here I was, still in the thick of it. And this was coming back up to like when I started getting back into the plant medicines again. I dabbled a bit, through the fear realm, and so here we are, and yeah, taking the time to have the conversations that I didn't want to have, and man, like I had betrayed some friends and like done some things that I wasn't very happy with about myself. And of course, they're just one in particular is just an amazing friend of mine that I'm forever grateful for how he handled and how he accepted me on his journey. Because the amazing thing was too, he was going through a fucking even braver fucking healing journey, and not braver, but just like this incredible, inspiring one. He was one of the guys who inspired me to get sober and to look at things differently and to start this thing. So then, of course, to go back and apologize for everything. And then, but, there was one love interest that happened, and it was like the one for me that put like a wound, that was still inside of me. And it's so funny when you don't realize these things, right? But at the time, we were kids, right? I mean, I was a fucking kid back then for sure. And when that I get rejected or that doesn't happen, I'm like, fine, we're no longer friends. Fucking like, don't want to talk to you. Like all of this stuff, and just immature and childish, and then I realized, like that's, and then as 10 fucking 15 or 12 years later, whatever it is, um, to realize it's like that wound is still in there because I was too childish to feel those feelings at the time. And not only that, it's like the wound that's left is like not like the fact that I didn't, we didn't have a romance that worked or something. It was like that she was like my dear fucking best friend at the time. And like I turned my back to that. And, I just wasn't man enough to fucking to deal with it at the time. And just like, all fucking, dove into work, dove into drinking, dove into any kind of distraction to not deal with those feelings at the time. And I'm sure I would have had opportunities to become friends again and deal that. And it's like that sucks, later to be, like, and then again to start piecing this together, and it took me a while to realize that's kind of what the wound that was still left there, again, because I had to fucking feel it and go through it. And what's the easiest way to do it? It's like I can sit there. You can always heal yourself. You don't need to have conversations with people. I've healed many relationships, and even like a past one this past week that I'd been like stirred up through my dreams. Again, I get hints of the things that are still left. And I just contemplated and was able to like say, to apologize to people in my consciousness and just let it go. And it's gone. It's like, oh, good. That saved me an embarrassing trip. It was like, it was great. But this one I knew it's like, and I mean, I didn't really know how to, I wasn't strong enough to do it that way for a lot of these things. I didn't know if you could do it that way for some of these things. So I was just, to go back 10, 12, whatever years and be like, hey, do you mind? Like, it would really help me out if we could just like chat. But, again, I was always lucky, very lucky, and forever grateful that, like, man, that I was gifted these opportunities to be, that these people had the compassion to be, to be like, yes, we'll talk, and to give me the opportunity so fucking, you know, to dig up old shit that they, way in their past, they've got a completely goddamn life, away from me. And that was, even though knowing they're healed from it and moved on and stuff, to be able to, it's not a fun conversation. And I was gifted that thing to be like, like, yeah, I can do that. And like, to give me an hour of her time and to be like, look, say what you need to say. And, so that so like just to send the message was hard enough because it was just like, I can't bother this person. They don't like, I can't, like, this is ludicrous. It's insane to like, and again, it wasn't. And again, all you can do is ask. And that's the mind, that's the stories. And that's showing you that there's still some hurt there and there's still something that you don't want to deal with. So yeah, I asked, and then of course she was really busy with her family, and and like I like 4 months or whatever later, I asked again, and she's like, "Oh yes, of course." And anyway, so that's out of my hands. I'm like, that's it. It's out of my hands. Just even doing the asking, I know I can heal on myself. It's good. But anyway, so I was getting back into the mushrooms. And so I finally decided that I was going to do a 5 gram trip again. And this would have been, the first one from, uh, yeah, this would have been the first one in a long time. And, Terrence McKenna always told, can't do my, no, I can't do a Terrence McKenna impression. It's like, I got to be fucking really high to try to pull that off. Um, but yeah, 5 dried grams of mushrooms will get you into it's kind of like a tipping point of a different realm of the psychedelic layer. It gets you in, for me, it always gets me into the DMT realms. It gets me into a different type of psychedelic experience. And again, it didn't get me into the DMT realm until I broke through on DMT. And then now even like 3 grams, and depends, how you're taking it and all this stuff. But so I, took 5 grams, lay down to meditate for the hours as I do, as and I was like peaking and getting into this like unraveling of whatever I was dealing with. The phone rang, and I said, "Oh, it's her." And like, I didn't have to look at my phone. I didn't have to like. I was like so into this thing. I'm like, "Oh, that's definitely her." Definitely. I go pick up my phone. Oh, great. I didn't hesitate. I click. I was like, "Oh, hey." Thanks for calling. And it's like, and again, she's like, I got like an hour. Say what you need to say. Fuck, forever grateful. Um, and I did. I never would have like. I don't even remember what I said. I don't even know what I said, but I know that I said what I had to, um, from the end of it and from the results from it, I should say. And it was just to, again, to say, just to say whatever the fuck I needed to say. Again, I don't remember, but so that was just again, gifts, and have that opportunity from everyone that has helped me with every situation, and to be forgiving, and to allow this space of vulnerability and honesty for us to, at least be like, yeah, that like that sucks, and like it's okay, like, of course it's okay. And so that was fucking so powerful. And we got off the phone, and I think I remember I was just like fucking Then I just like, went back and meditated and just started, bawling my eyes out. But like, not for very long. Not for very long. And just like crying from just like release. I could just tell this like weight was lifting off of me. It was just percolating in me for so long. It's like this rock that was like literally being lifted out of my fucking holographic presence. And then all of a sudden this like deep like ho 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 like belly laugh, like this fucking voice from inside of me that I'd never heard before in my entire life just started like bellowing this powerful fucking laugh. And I just was like, holy shit. And I could just feel it just like finally be released and be like, I've been holding on to this thing of like just not even being able to like talk to her as a friend and like to release, just not deal with the thing. And like in 1 fucking hour phone call, I was just like, all this stuff I didn't even know was there. That's the thing. You can tell yourself the story or whatever, but and you can heal yourself in many different ways alone. Definitely, but it's much easier to be able to be gifted that experience. So, and then so there was this blockage that was gone. And I remember it's just like this profound trip where like I was tapped into like something else, this new version of me awoken. But it was also like the old version of me that like I had blocked off a part of myself from that moment that I wasn't able to look at. And it was just like it got plugged back into myself. That puzzle piece turned back on, and my soul was fucking very, very excited about that. And I got these visions, and this is where I first thought about the podcast, about some of these about talking about some of these experiences. Now, that was the first little like hint. And I thought I was gonna write a book because I was doing again journaling every day, journal, and that like I might write a book one day. And I'd been getting with these experiences too because well, maybe we'll get into that after, but because I started getting into the DMT again, but this time, through changa, which is like, some people describe it as like smokable ayahuasca, but it's like it's NNDMT that's like, sprinkled and infused with an MOI inhibitor, which is like used in the ayahuasca brew again with the leaf. And it's like, but again, still only like, 10 or 15 minutes, but is this more gentle, like flowy instead of like a blast off through this thing with the pen. It was just more of a just a calm, easier transition. And so I was getting into that as well too. But I'll save that for the end if we get there, if I can get through the whole thing. Um, so yeah, it was wicked. And then at that point, then I was done the activation sequence, which is all about your purpose. And I remember I was talking, William, my trusted guide who has helped me through all this madness. Beautiful, beautiful man. And yeah, and I remember I was like, so the most logical thing to be would be going to Venus sequence, which is about love and your relationships and all of this thing. But there was a new thing that they were offering, which was the Dream Arc program. And like, I'll try to explain it myself, but I did like, again, I just took snippets from my book, but like, this is how it's explained online, at least somewhere. It's like, and it was an online retreat too, so it was the first time doing that. So Richard Rudd was actually leading it himself with his team, and we'll do online like Zoom calls from people from all over the world. There was like 1,500 or 2,000 of us from all over the world embarked on this journey together. And without a doubt, like, William was just like, do the dream arc, do the dream arc. And the way it's described, it's a rich and highly unique journey designed to expand your creativity, unlock your intuitive wisdom, and connect you to the deep ancestral power of the earth and her creatures. Using a host of techniques that open up new circuits in our brain and body, the dream arc teaches us how to transfer information fluidly between the realms of sleeping and waking. Through a series of transformative self guided experiences based on animal symbolism, we learn how to root out hidden fears and unconscious blocks so that the bright and powerful light of our true nature can shine out clearly in our lives. The result is the explosion of creative freedom and a new sense of living life at a mythic level. Whew. And fuck, don't blow in the mic. But man, and that was like, and boy, fucking did it ever, you know? It taught me how, how to create ritual and how to connect with nature on a different level, to open the retreat, invited us to like make an altar and like, and yeah, to create our own ritual. It could be prayer or meditation or going for a walk in nature or doing some exercise or like, just a nice morning ritual. It didn't have to be long, didn't have to be short, could be lighting a candle, some incense, just like find your way to tap into like your spirituality in an authentic way. And I played up with little different things, and the cool part was like, and I'm just like realizing like the absurdity of it now because the dream arc is all based upon animal symbolism. So like there's 12 different categories, and I want to go move and show you my thing here on the, but I won't. I'm going to leave the camera, but I have all my stuff here because I still have it. I still have the dream arc thing activated. I bring stuff from all over the world, like rocks and like nuts, and I'd be like, fine, like these, like this is cool as fucking nature, and I put it on my dream arc little circle, and it just activates something. I don't know what it is, but it also just makes, that's my treasure hunt in life. I love like looking for sea glass and little rocks, and if I see something cool on a plant, a Fibonacci sequence in a wild plant that I've never seen before, I have like little like I don't know, little pom pom balls and little like like here, I'll bring this to the camera. Look at this thing. I got this off a tree. What the fuck is this? It's like a seed or something from a tree, and like I found this little like what creature was living in there. Just little things that make me smile and put it on this thing. But anyways, that's it's just fun. And you invited me to make an altar, and then I'm like, well, what's an altar? And then I realized I had one. I had subconsciously built one. That like I have this ledge, I have this ledge in my apartment here, and here, fuck it. And for those on the video, we'll just do a quick. I can't even see what I'm videotaping here, but you can see all the different, and it's a lot of different animals and whatever, just little stuff and things that I collect, whatever. And oh shit, and there's the dream arc. Now, can I get this back in here and get it in the right place? That was pretty silly, but showed you a little glimpse into my weird little, my fun little life. and that I had like, I don't know, I subconsciously built it because I love like I love little like hand carved like sculptures or little like, and it was all animals that I liked for some whatever reason. And I guess it was just like a collection thing. I was like, well, not getting all the different stuff, but if it's like a porcelain or or like a brass or hand carved wooden or, and again, like a crocodile, turtle, fucking whatever, all these different animals, and that I had all these along with different rocks and other carvings and symbols of mystery. And if it's not as big as it is now once I really got into this stuff, but that I already had this thing built, and it's the dream arc. So all of these animals that I'm going to play with through this course, I'm already like collecting and getting into, and like it's they're my most fucking prized possessions. I've like gotten out of like materialism. I'm getting ready to sell my house, and like I don't think I'm leaving with much, but like that stuff is like gonna stay with me. And I'll eventually probably give that stuff up too. So it taught me how to like, and again, to connect to nature. So what essentially, to like make it an easy to understand, is that like so when you're out in nature, you're doing walks or whatever, and say I run into like a raccoon. I see a raccoon, then I go look up in the animal codex. There's 192 different animals, and I go look up the raccoon, and there's a message in there with its like meaning, its background of like, history of like what the folklore is, and then a contemplation to dive into, something for you to contemplate. And it's like, again, it's a game into itself. Like Richard Rudd was able to go into these higher frequencies of consciousness and have this into the, must be in the fourth density, the fifth density, and have these amazing experiences. And then over like fucking decades of contemplations, being able to take this tapestry, this amazing magical tapestry of how some of this stuff works, and bring it down into earth and to put it into a program where you can live it out and tap into these higher frequencies to it. So like when I look up that raccoon, I get a message that for me that I'm dealing with at that time. And it might be an invitation to go on a pilgrimage or a journey, or to look at your life this way. And like, it's like fucking real life Pokemon. I'm like, I gotta collect them all. So like, I'm like, I got a list of all the animals I've dealt with, and a lot that I haven't. But like, holy shit, I was in the valley the other day with some dear friends, and he's just like, oh, I think this farm's closed, but I'll take you. You can see the kangaroos. Well, geez, isn't that the first time I've ever seen a kangaroo before? And of course, I go look up the friggin' message, because this is a lifelong game for me. Richard says it could take, 7 years if you play it, but I'm doing other courses at the same time, and I just have this running in the background. So I just like anytime I see an animal, I make note of it, I write down, I go to the message, and but I do want to get in the categories. They're all the animals are broken into 12 different categories of like the guardians, the healers, the leapers, the uh fuck, I should know all of these, but the warriors, and like, the laughers and the tricksters, and it's this amazing shamanistic journey in like using the animals as symbols, and it's just seething with wisdom. And it turns again, we started talking about how, like, we can make reality like a video game. This is me like somatically experiencing it as a video game, being like, oh, I fucking, like, I see it now. So when we were first starting as well too, it's the first week again to invite us to do a ritual and like start the game, to like, we're gonna do a ritual, have a ritual week, and like invoke, and I think it's like a fucking magic spell that like unlocks this game inside the matrix that then turns this thing on. Because that's what's happening for me, at least. And it still works to this day. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about it. It's fucking awesome. And like, this is why I get so excited about the gene keys, and I don't shut the fuck up about it. Because I'm like, man, you don't want to play this like awesome fucking real life game in here? But you got to be ready. And you got to believe in it. And you got to like, you got to get, and you got to put the time to do the work, because it's not just like a thing. There's readings, and again, within each category is a different like synthesis of information for you to go down based upon, what do you need. Like if I need to deal, that's the cool thing too, because when you're done a category, you can roll the dice, you can ask the oracle, or you can be like, I need some fucking I need some help from a healer, like fucking, or like I need my warrior energy today, or it's like, man, I've been too tight, I need to get into the laughers, or the, again, or I'm going to go to the travelers, I'm going to go on this journey, epic journey, and like all of these different categories based upon where you're at in your life. And then you'll have this crew of hilarious animal creatures to be able to friggin' tap into, like, help you in the game and with what you're dealing with. And it makes like, so I'm like healing myself by playing with these animals. It's fucking awesome. And I will continue to not shut the fuck up about it. So to start it off as well too, we were doing the guardians category, and invite us to, again, you can just randomly pick one, or it said to read everyone, read the 12 animals and see what resonates with you. And so I was really contemplating the lamb really like spoke to me, and I didn't bring the message from the lamb. But it's like, look for clues too. Look for the reality, for the signs that that's, your animal. And so I remember I was contemplating this on the way to New Brunswick. I missed a part, but we'll go back. I was contemplating this on the way to New Brunswick, and yeah, it's I was driving by. So I was leaving my parents, driving by this concrete place that I had driven by hundreds of times, at least hundreds of times. It's been there forever, right on the highway, right on the Trans Canada Highway. As soon as you're coming out of Borden, for any of my Islander friends, and there's all of these like concrete statues, and it's done, and lots of animals, and all sorts of stuff, just hundreds of them. And I always like, and I think too, I every time I go by, I'm like, oh, what kind of statues they got now, and like it's always all out in the yard. And so as I'm contemplating this, and for the first time ever, I go and I look at the sign, and it's Lamb Concrete. And I was like, holy shit, I guess it's the Lamb. And I never knew the business, never looked at it at the hundreds of time, but like my focus went right there, and I just, broke out laughing. I'm like, all right, the game's afoot, literally. Um, and so I'd, just been starting this. And so before that, I was up in Cape Breton, and I was doing some hikes and lots of stuff. And while I was up there, a moose fucking ran in front of me in the road, and that's the first time that ever happened. I don't know if I'd ever even seen a moose before. I feel like maybe I'd driven by one or something, but I was like, okay, well, I got to look up the moose, right? And so I want to give an experience of this. Uh, give an example of this rather. So I go and look it up, and here's the mess. Here's an excerpt from the moose, because there's other stuff in there, but it is, I am Moose. Go forth and create. A breakthrough waits within you, just beneath the surface. Like water rising up for millennia beneath the earth, there comes a time when it must find its way through to the surface. These are powerful, magical moments in life. If we are not prepared, breakthrough can easily turn into breakdown. So prepare for what is coming. Deep forces in your unconscious and the collective are rising up. At such times, it's important to clear one's plate to purify the body and emotions and make space for the sacred to come. In the traditions of my people and the tribes who work with me, I'm also a guardian creature. Consider heading northwards, either as a pilgrimage or inwardly find your true north. The north denotes silence. It denotes either great light or total darkness. Through the symbol of the pole star, it signifies a new direction in your life, a new current. It is time to claim an ancient inheritance inside yourself, a gift of your ancestors, and to put this gift to greater use in your world. Open your heart to the creative spirit and trust it in where it takes you. I'm a leaper. With my insistence on the inner planes in the dream realm, you can break through to new higher planes of consciousness. The tree growing from my head signifies this ability you have to grow roots into the world of spirit. At the same time, be strongly rooted in the ancient traditions and in the deep, musty, delicious sense of the earth. Those who fly high do so on account of their deep groundedness in earth, in family, and community. Therefore, build these things in your dreaming, and then you can journey deep into the forests, into the inner worlds, and much value I will teach you of those realms. So I was like, oh, okay, that's, didn't think much of it at the time, to be honest. I was just starting the thing. And so I was leaving, I went back to PEI. It was kind of funny. I was having a health issue, like not health, but like an issue at the time with allergies. And this is where I first started realizing the health thing is like, oh, there's stuff in health that like no one really knows about, or lots of people do now, and it's fucking widespread. And like if you're on that, listen to those channels, and I think we're all getting to that health issues are, signs that something is good. It's your body telling you something, that there's something to deal with. It's not a gene thing. It's not a, health and or toxicity issue, or anyways, not going there. But it's having all these allergies, and I had this like intuition that it was like I know it's not like pollen, or like I'm not allergic to anything. I'm like, it's like when I wasn't being authentic, or when I was just not doing something that I wanted to do or whatever. And it was like this, the allergy was, it was like calling me on my bullshit. And anyways, I was just like getting this inkling and interesting. And anytime it comes up, I kind of have to just stop. Maybe I'm going too fast. Maybe I'm rushing. Maybe I'm potentially going in a wrong direction that I don't want to go to. Or there's something I'm not looking at. But I've used that now as like, okay, there's information there. Let's try to figure it out. So I decided I was gonna go, and then sure enough, I didn't even know at the time. I didn't put it together until after. Again, a lot of these things I'm just guided to, but I was going to northern New Brunswick to make a little pilgrimage to see my friend's place at the time, to go deep into his woods, um, his land that he'd been working on that he wanted to show me. And I decided I was going to do a fast for the first time. And I feel like, with allergies and all this stuff, any kind of fasting is, anyways, I've only done a couple of them now, and well, we'll get to the other one later. But um and I don't know why, but I decided, felt like it would be a good idea to do another uh 5-gram mushroom trip at the end of this thing, because I'm like, there was something there with that last thing. It's like, and then maybe I did realize too, I'm like, okay, purify your body with the moose, go into the, like, go north and go deep in the earth and connect to the ground. And so, and we were just going to stay the night, and we did, we just stayed the night out there. And so, yeah. And as he was showing me his town, which again, Synchronicity City, one of my tenants who's is from the same town. He's from the reserve there, in the middle of this little tiny town, and it's like they like know of each other. And again, it's not a big. So I'm like, well, that's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences. There are not. Everything kind of ties together in the end, and I'm still kind of, yeah, we're still. I'm still figuring out that one, I suppose, but. And so as we are as he's showing me this town, sure enough, this moose comes out of the woods and just starts fucking running beside the car for like a solid minute. And that's when I think that might have even been the first time that I looked up the moose, to be honest. And I was like, oh shit, I need to like, no, I looked it up again. I'm like, I need to look this up again. I'm like, oh my God, here I am. Okay, we definitely got to do, a mushroom ceremony. Again, I'm tapping into ritual and invoking, not just like sit and do the mushroom, but to have like some purpose behind it. And I'm trying to do this thing. And again, the moose talking about how, I don't know, I think it's in here. Anyways, I read the whole thing and I couldn't even, but allowing me to have this breakthrough. I can break through into new higher planes of consciousness. And so, yeah, on the second night, we went into the woods, had a fire, made tea, and, I took 5 grams. And, we went through and experienced that night. I tapped into a higher plane of consciousness that I had just felt a little spark of, that I got a glimmer of that other time before, of like removing that blockage, where I saw, like, again, it's like my future self. I was feeling like my future self, and this like incredibly like, I can do absolutely anything. It's like, I had this fucking list of all these ideas I'm gonna do, and then you wake up the next day and be like, oh, I'm back to earth again. And a similar experience happened at that night, but that plane of consciousness was just like this, was tapping into the animal consciousness and the nature consciousness, and like the like fucking this windstorm came up, and it was just, and it's interesting to like to know, it's like, well, how much do I really say here, because it's gonna be like, oh sure, Jay, that's a really nice mushroom trip. But again, when you're, the dream arc, I guess, opened up this portal. So I mean, that's really the gate. And again, I'm just realizing it now. That was the gateway into these opportunities to play, to invoke this game, to start it, to do all the inner work to clear myself out of the blockages, to allow the potentiality of my consciousness to taste these things. And when you do things like do a fucking 3-day fast and take a 5-gram dose, nature loves courage and she lifts you up. And boy, did it ever fucking lift me up into this like state of, again, it's like this instant of direct knowing and where to, how I guess how I know where consciousness is going is that like this is the future human that Richard talks about all the time. It's being able to not just tap into these things in the psychedelic realms. It's like that's the gift of the plant medicine, is to open you a window into that. But now what my journey has been, and since then, the past 3 years since, or whatever, or 2 years, or man, time is strange when you get into some of this stuff, but is then to walk the journey, to walk your way there naturally, and to do the things that you need to do on earth. Because yeah, you can, you know, the mushroom will, it'll show you the potentiality. And yes, there will be moments of like some instant healing, but it will point you in the direction that you need to go to do that healing and to become the best version of yourself. If you're open to that thing and it's the right time and the right place and the right mushroom. And yeah, that was a crazy experience that, I don't even think I want to, but it's like, talk about much more other than, and part of you that like the gift to me there was that like the dog was there, because I'm like, that was fucking real. And it was realer than real. But like that dog wouldn't leave my side. And it wasn't my dog at the time. But like in that moment, it was like I knew this dog from different lifetimes and different journeys in reality, where I'm like, oh my God, it's so good to see you again. And just like where we, again, you know, and if you don't, if you want to know more into this stuff about, again, the telepathy and everything, the telepathy tapes, I just finally listened to that when I got home doing the renovations of the house, painting and stuff. And you want to talk about like these fucking brilliant kids who are like, that's a different episode, but man, that like just that made me like, I wouldn't even, I'm just like painting and I'll start like crying, because you can see that like these truths that have been held back for so long, that any of these nonverbal autistic kids can fucking speak telepathically to each other. And again, you don't want to listen to the podcast, wait for this documentary to come out, because it's gonna, again, just show that's like, fuck science if they don't want to believe this stuff. It doesn't matter. And believe me, they've done everything to do it is fucking impossible to friggin'. These kids are going into their mother's dreams at night and giving them information and talking to them and telling them everything's okay. And all they are is fucking pure vessels of love, trying to fucking show us how to like fucking star seeds of divine consciousness that can't handle this dense frequency on earth. And for whatever reason signed up to be in this situation. But again, they're like, whew, anyways, just awesome fucking podcast. I can't wait to see the documentary myself and continue listening to it. These wonderful stories of these amazing people. And so yeah, that was just wild. And I didn't even know. And just as quickly as it came, it just left. And I was like, oh, again, just back. And then dog, I was like, oh my God. To my friend, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened, what came over me. I was just like, it was like this thing was coming through to me and I could do nothing about it. And yeah, I'm still continuing to learn about these things. And yeah, so then I go to back to Halifax to contemplate whatever the hell that was and be like, holy shit. And then go back at it, more reading, more contemplating, working on the Gene Keys course. And so yeah, so then I was working on the Gene Keys. And so on the rich, and as part of the course, we're just, we're getting into it, whatever. As part, we'd have like these weekly calls, and again with people all over the world, whoever can log in at that time. And for me, it was at night at that time, and yeah, on this call. And for some reason, I normally just have like Richard's face and maybe another one. I just, again, my body did it. It's like I didn't even think. I just went to the mouse and went to like the switch panes and clicked on it so you could see, like, I don't know, what is it, 12 different frames, and all the different frames of like however many you can see on the Zoom thing. And I don't know why I'd never done that view before on any call. Again, did we talk about the information in the body with that somatic like this is how this guy can watch me and my body read the things that are, anyway, stuck. I didn't describe that right, by the way. What I was trying to get at with that conversation was that it's stuff I don't even know. He's able to tap into my subconscious by seeing the movements in my body to give me the information to bring it out so I can work with it, move on, and fast track this thing that I could have fucking went around circles for 10 years in talk therapy. That's what I was trying to get at with the somatic thing. But magic, baby. Well, what we believe is magic. It's just new ways to do it. We're just learning. And so yeah, I'm on the screen, and then for whatever reason, there was this one square that was just like glowing, and I was like, huh. And now, I was talking about, like, I'm working on my sexuality and all of these things, so I was, dabbling with celibacy, and and all this stuff, and I was still doing that at the same time, just trying to find, you know, my divine masculinity, my sexuality, which is, that's a journey in itself and very interesting and fun. I can't, we'll just get vulnerable on some of that stuff. Yeah, and I was just like, so, and it was a girl, or like around my age, and a very pretty girl. And so, and now the average age of the people in the Gene Key scores, I'm one of the younger people. These are lifelong learners that have been, we're talking into these really prolific stuff that's kind of out there for some people, and it's just really catching fire. It's gonna be, and again, like the somatic healing, it's gonna be where all of it goes. I mean, the same as fascia work, all these new age healings and everything to allow us to finally heal ourselves, fucking, and get rid of these toxicities in our body, produced by these mega corporations that are poisoning us, and that are just not to give energy to that thing. And I just knocked it up to like, all right, it's been a while. I'm a guy. There's probably, like, I don't know why I can't stop looking at this girl. And but I wasn't. I knocked it up to that and being like, oh man, maybe it's time to finally go down. To have a, yeah, to, yeah, to tap into something there. Um, yeah, to end the streak. And then, so yeah, I went to bed. I woke up the next day and I had an email from this girl and from this woman. And, and it was like, hey, I don't, and again, the same thing. It's like, I don't know why, but I couldn't stop looking at your square for some reason. I didn't know. So, like, I looked up your profile, and sure enough, we have the same, like, for the purpose in the activation sequence, we have the same four main gene keys, but they're in reverse order. So he's just like, I don't know why. My left brain makes no sense of it, but for some reason, if you're up for it, I'd like to discuss the gene keys with you. And I'm like, hell yeah, of course. And so that was an amazing gift in itself, because, I'm going through this wild journey, tapping into this stuff, and I can't talk to anyone about this thing. And it's like, but it's like, but you gotta, it's a magical universe with the animals. And like, I still am sure it sounds like ridiculous, but it's fucking cool. But we're seeing reality in the same from the same very similar viewpoint. And so it was this beautiful sounding board of us to be able to talk back and forth, and we hit it off, and so we start messaging and talking, having calls every now and again, developing this great friendship. And then and And of course, it's like we're both, some pretty good looking people. And, anyway, so like we're talking about everything and just being open, honest, vulnerable. And it was wonderful. And, we were doing that, a lot, damn near every day or whatever, sharing a lot of stuff. It was wonderful. And then, one day she's just like, fuck it. She's like, I had a thought the other night, like, I just a random idea to have some sort of like, I can't remember what, but I remember she like to have some sort of like laboratory where it feels safe to, discuss what we're experiencing, as we see it, to have, because, we both believe reality is a mirror. It's like we're seeing what we need to see to be able to better, become our highest self. So it's like we both know this. Imagine if we did this in person and like we're both open and honest in the game enough to say like, hey, we'll do this. We both agree. Like, and to give it a shot. It's like heaven forbid if we were all fucking like openly, brutally fucking honest with each other all the time, we would all get exactly what we wanted or figure out really fast what we didn't want and, cut out a whole lot of bullshit and drama in our life. But, that's part of why we like the game. We like the drama. So, I mean, that was a pretty quick fuck yes. So she invited me. She was doing this, like house sitting and animal sitting, which is a whole new world how to travel as well too, because people who are want to go travel, it's this site and trusted house sitters, and there's a pet sitters one and all of this stuff, and like a work away that you can go, all different opportunities where this one is like these people, you create a profiles, you everything videos, and then you can connect and have interviews and stuff. But if they want to go away on like say a month to fucking Albuquerque or wherever, then to get this person to come in, they don't have to pay anyone. They just get to stay at their house for free, maybe use their car, maybe have like, maybe there's an allowance, maybe there's some food and garden, but like to walk, take care of their animals, walk their animals, maybe walk the, water the plants and take care of the house. And like the deal is like, know where little money's exchanged, and it's just a fucking huge win. So a lot of people don't pay for rent or do anything and travel all over the fucking world or wherever the hell they want to. That's what she was doing, and while teaching languages online, and to be able to tap into this stuff and to have the time to then, connect with nature, heal ourselves, and work on the fucking gene keys. So there's again when when people say I can't travel or I can't do, it's like, yes, you can. There are absolutely ways, and if you're telling yourself that, well, then that's what's going to happen. That's the other thing too. You got to be open to these opportunities, and you got to look for them, and not tell yourself a story that it can't happen, because then it's not gonna. So I was like, fuck yes. So I thought I was gonna go to South America was the plan, but I'm like, I love Spain. I've been there before. I got some funny ass stories to tell about that, on another one. But so that was amazing. I'm like, whew. And then so yeah, I had maybe, I don't know, 6 weeks or like something to like get ready, maybe 2 months. And then so that's where I was, wanted to get comfortable with the Chonga again and just use this opportunity to like continue my growth and to get myself as clear and do as much like work as I could here, so I could go on an adventure and fucking enjoy travel and, enter this laboratory in the middle of, in the mountains in Spain, like again in this beautiful house. And so, yeah, one of the Changa experiences, which I probably don't need to talk about this one. What does my heart say? Might as well. Okay, so one of this one, I'd been doing a lot of grounding at the time, and it was part of my ritual was to go out and to fucking ground myself. Heaven forbid, one of Jess's like orientation department is like, we're a fucking battery. Our body, our whole system is a battery, and the way we we charge our batteries through food, through sleep, through sunlight. Hello, it doesn't harm you. It fucking gives you energy so long as you don't burn yourself. Too bad. And if you do, you got too much metals from all the toxicities from the other things. But um, but also to ground yourself with you're connecting with that earth, and that'll give you a charge as well too. And then the same thing, just like how the other beautiful thing about the concept of the battery thing is in the people you hang out with. Some people can drain your battery, literally take your energy and use it for themselves by manipulating and fear and like being, just draining. You know what it's like when someone who's just caught in victimization and caught in these lower frequencies and just need to, and it's hard to protect your aura from some of that if you're then giving them pity and giving them the thing that they need. That's feeding the thing. So if it's like you go, the way she describes it, it's like you go have a coffee with someone for an hour, and it's like, man, like I had a coffee with my dear or chat with my dear friend Benil the other morning. We hadn't talked in a while, and I was like, after that conversation, I was like, holy shit! It's like clear the table. I got a lot to do today. Fucking like I'm just like fucking because we're on the same vibrational frequency. So when you're on that same vibrational map, boom, you pop into this. Supercharge your battery. That's what happens for me. It's the same with my friend Nick was just home visiting from Vancouver, but he fucking said, I didn't shut the fuck up for like two. His poor partner who was there with us was just like, can we talk about this next? And it's just like, I'm like, almost like where I got drained because I was so excited and so super powered, but he was a huge creative spark for me. And so to be able to tap into his frequency on the creativity and talk about all these things that have been wanting to, and then my fucking creativity I got all these ideas, he's giving me ideas, he's feeding my machine. I'm fucking like, we're just humming, you know what I mean? And it's just a wonderful experience. So like those are the people you need to hang around with. And it sucks for the other people where you're like, holy fuck, I'm dying. I need a nap after that fucking hang out. But like I've had to let them go where I'm like, I will no longer fucking do that to myself. And I still will. If someone fucking needs me, I always will until like, boundaries are like I'm just like, I can't help you if you're in victim consciousness. I'm sorry. I will sit down and try to explain it to you. I will do my best, but I can't get in those water. I can't get in those frequencies anymore, and I can't get entangled in anyone else's energy. And I just don't have the patience for it anymore. So it's like, but again, once you're in this healed frequency, they just kind of stop calling you. It's very interesting. They're just like the people you don't resonate with anymore. I'm not saying that they are, and I'm better. It's not that. I'm not fucking better than anybody is. That's what I've learned from anything. We're all fucking just human. But we're at different points in our lesson plan. And how many lives that we took to get there and what we've gone through in this life compared to the next or whatever. I could have been the goddamn whatever. So there's no better or worse. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. I don't know how many times I'll have to say that, but where the hell was I? And my phone ran out of storage. So the video cut short. And I thought that was a funny little place to stop. So I did end up finding a loop. We were talking about charging your battery and the body's a battery and probably get into some more of that stuff. But that's a good place to stop. I rambled for another 20 minutes, but we're not going back there. And I'll take it as a sign that this is long enough for the episode. And yeah, we're at a really interesting part of the story. We're going to take off to Spain and go on a magical journey that like shattered yet again, changed everything. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. Love you guys. Ciao.